they were on time, they had the right color socks, and they happened to win. What am I talking about, Sarah?
The 2024 Conti-Cup winners are Arsenal. They did it. Second year in a row, Sarah. Second year in a row. And they did it second year in a row. And it was against Chelsea. And that's always a little sweet. Whoever watched the full game, man, this was a long freaking, it was long. I was reading Twitter and I was everything. And people were like, well, that was the longest 3 hours of my life.
That's like Titanic.
Yeah, Titanic. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And at the very timestamps down below, because at the very end, I'm going to hit on something very briefly. But also, it was a dramatic game. We saw a little pushy shovey at the end from the coaches, and there was a scary moment as well. We'll kind of touch on. But starting off, Arsenal versus Chelsea. This was going to be a hard fought match. We're not going to talk too much about the details of the match, but great to see them on time. Great to see that they didn't have to win the Conti-Cup with Chelsea socks on.
That's always a win.
Yeah. But going into the match, great match. There was a lot of opportunities on both sides. In the 20th minute, heartbreak for Chelsea, though. It was a Ramirez goal. And it was a Ramirez goal. It looked great. It looked exciting. Then this match did have VAR in it. So over the years, I think most people said that they prefer VAR overall. But they found out that Erin Cuthbert had a handball in that play. So it did not count. And it kind of got the game going because you're thinking 1-up Chelsea, 20th minute. Okay, it's Chelsea's game. But that was called a handball. But throughout the match, there was a lot of close calls. In the 30th minute, Katie McCabe came very close. In the 32nd minute, a lot of women came very close. Then in the 45th minute, some people say that actually Katie McCabe had a handball that wasn't called. And Lauren James, she kind of was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Like I said, I didn't watch the whole game. I did just watch the highlights, but the highlights I saw, she had the ball a lot. She shot a lot. But speaking of Lauren James, in the 85th minute, there was a ball that was so close. Manu actually saved it, but it's the way the ball was. I couldn't even tell if she got a boot on it, how she did, but that could have been the game winner at that point. 85th minute, Lauren James, they pan over to Emma on the side. Emma's like frustrated. It didn't go in. That was so close.
Wild.
That could have been it. That could have been the game. 85th minute, that could have been the game. 1-0. But no, it kept going. Then this is where it got scary in the 95th minute, in the 95th minute, Frida Maanum went down, and we're going to read it from a story later. She went down. She is okay, but it was a non-ball. She went down off ball, so it wasn't contact or anything. We're going to talk about that, but the reason I'm bringing that up here is there was about a 7-minute delay, so they had to tack that time on to the game when they finally got going again. But so there was a lot of time. We're going to read from an article in a second. So it goes in the extra time, overtime, and there's a lot of opportunities. Arsenal, Hannah Hampton did a great job saving some of these goals because Arsenal was not relenting. And Caitlin Ford came close. Alessia Russo came really close. But finally, a ball went in from STINA Blackstenius.
Yeah, she's been all over the place. She's been falling down, getting up, scoring, just doing things.
This goal was not, she did not fall down on this goal. So luckily that this was all by the book. But if she did, there was VAR in this game.
Good to know.
So she scored a beautiful goal, and that did end up being the game winner. But it was great to see Arsenal have a trophy this year, and this is becoming their trophy. They won the last 2 years, and it's great to see. Now, some fireworks happened after the game, though. This is where things kind of got interesting. At the very end, the two coaches always go and have a handshake and say good game or whatever they say, but a little handshake. Emma Hayes was not happy. Was not happy at all. They go up for that handshake, and she kind of has her body forward. Like, it looks like she's ready to scold him from get-go. And she bodies him. I'm sure everyone's seen it. We'll play it on the screen, but she bodies him and has a few words.
She must have been a hockey player in another lifetime because she checked him. She body checked him for sure.
And then his face was so funny because he was like, what the heck? Okay. Then he kind of like rolled his eyes at her.
It was kind of like a body check shove.
And his reaction, actually, I thought his reaction was kind of funny. He just kind of rolled his eyes. I was like, okay, whatever, lady, you know. It was actually kind of funny. Everyone at the point's like, what's Emma talking about? Why is she upset? We kind of had an idea, I think, a little bit, but at the presser after, she kind of explains what was going on. This is kind of an interesting situation. Okay, I'm gonna have Sara read this, and we're gonna talk about it.
Chelsea manager shoves Arsenal coach after match, calls out male aggression. A sideline dispute during the English Women's League Cup final on Sunday escalated into a post-match shove from Chelsea manager and incoming U.S. Women's National Team coach Emma Hayes. Hayes said she reacted to male aggression displayed by Arsenal's Jonas Eidevall during an exchange he had with Chelsea midfielder Erin Cuthbert before a throw-in during extra time. After the game, Eidevall said the dispute centered on a pre-game decision to use only one ball during the match instead of multiple balls. Teams can choose to use one or multiple balls prior to the game. If they can't agree, one ball is used. During the game's final minutes, Chelsea attempted to grab a new ball for a quick throw-in after the game ball was kicked away, prompting Eidevall's reaction toward the player. Chelsea ultimately lost 1-0. I've been in women's football a long time, and I don't think that we should tolerate male aggression like we did today, Hayes said afterwards. He, Eidevall, received a yellow card, but perhaps should have been more. Fronting up and squaring up to a player is something that's unacceptable. I've never been booked in 12 years of my career. Hayes, who will assume U.S. Women's National Team duties once the Arsenal season ends, emphasized her displeasure in the post-game handshake line by giving Eidevall a visible shove. Eidevall denied his behavior was overly aggressive. The ball gets out of play. The Chelsea player wants a new ball to take a quick throw-in, and I said, we play with only one ball, and you guys were the ones who decided that, he told the BBC. I don't think I was aggressive, he told reporters in his post-match press conference. I think that's irresponsible to label it as that.
So that was kind of the article. It kind of ended kind of abruptly, but, that was the reason why Emma was so upset. And I'll play the video, but you can see he gets very upset. This was at the very end of the game. I'm actually not quite sure what minute, but it was basically at the end of the game. And you could see Erin Cuthbert they had agreed on the one ball. And then, so that should have been the way it should have been played based on the rules. Erin Cuthbert at the very end grabs another ball because I think the game ball that they had been using was too far away because probably time was counting down. So she's like, I'm just going to grab any ball. And Jonas Eidevall was not having it because he knew that wasn't what they agreed upon. And he was pissed off, understandably, I think. And if you look at it, he gets upset. He starts yelling at Erin, but then Erin comes toward him more than he comes toward her in a way. And I saw kind of that argument saying, well, Erin kind of squared up first, but I think she was just reacting to him yelling and screaming. She's like, hey, don't yell and scream at me. He did get a yellow card. And then Emma was not shy to tell him at the very end. That's kind of where I think that our conversation was Jonas being aggressive, male aggression. Was that part of it? Or is Emma not being fair in what she's saying about the way Jonas reacted? Because that's a pretty big statement, male aggression. So I think that's where the conversation kind of lies.
I think he went a little over the top. I mean, he looked upset. Aggression, I guess, but I don't know if male aggression. But at the same time, I probably would have reacted the same way if they had agreed, if it was like a rule thing. So I understand what happened and why it happened.
Yeah, if they had agreed upon it and then that was not followed through, and Erin Cuthbert to take those few couple seconds to go get the game ball, that's seconds that Chelsea could come back when those seconds are precious to Arsenal as well, not just Chelsea, and she grabbed the different ball. On Twitter, I would say most people were kind of saying Emma was just upset because she lost, and I'm just reading this, because she is spoiled and a sore loser. Then I'm reading here that someone goes, Jonas shouts and it's aggressive and abusive, but Emma literally pushes Jonas and it's just unprofessional and in the heat of the moment, saying that that's a little aggressive too. That was one of the first comments I came across. And then I saw this one comment that said, Emma Hayes' behavior yesterday was a disgrace, aggressive, hypocritical, and total gaslighting. I hope she is ashamed this morning. Jonas Eidevall carried himself well yesterday. So I saw those comments saying Emma was out of line. But then I did see people saying, Jonas is not in the right either.
Yeah, and I mean, Emma did have a point. She said she's never gotten a yellow in the 12 years that she's been doing this. So. But I will say, if she did that shove during the game, she might have gotten a yellow.
Yeah.
Can you get a yellow after the game? Okay, I'm going to read this comment. Say whatever the hell you want about this incident, but you've got worms for brains if you refuse to acknowledge the fact that Jonas being aggressive to opposition players / match officials is a recurring thing that a few people have already commented on now.
Yeah, so people on both sides. I will say I saw more people on Jonas' side, but I did see people on Emma's side saying, hey, he has a history of being aggressive in a certain way and shouldn't be tolerated. And Emma was just sticking up for her player because him yelling at Erin it is kind of unsightly for an opposing coach to yell at an opposing player in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to defend your team and your players.
Yeah, exactly. I think she looked at it as like she was defending her players. So that was kind of the big story, Emma was not having it. And obviously, I keep saying, we're Team Emma. Put the U.S. Women's National Team into shape. So she's going to whip him into shape. So I'm Team Emma. But so I did see that. What did you guys think down below? Team Jonas? Team Emma. At the end of the day, Arsenal played well. I did see a lot of people saying that they thought Emma kind of lost the game for Chelsea because her subs kind of non-existent other than Ramirez, who was subbed out. People thought Ramirez was subbed out too early, and then they thought that there wasn't enough subs later in the match. That the subs were kind of a disaster on Emma's side. And also, after you've just lost that match, and Emma's going to kind of find anything that she's pissed off about losing. So you're in a feisty mood after you lose, I'm sure Emma was pissed off that they lost.
Absolutely.
So, like we talked about in the match, I believe it was like in the 95th minute, Frida Maanum did go down. And it was scary. She went down. She collapsed. And I don't know, I was kind of looking for reports. I don't know. I can't say I know what happened other than what we read in the paper the next day. It's just scary. When you go down off ball, just collapsing, it happens. It's one of the scariest things because you don't know what's going on. But she is doing better.
Frida Maanum health update with Arsenal star able to travel home with teammates after Chelsea win. Frida Maanum didn't need to go to the hospital and traveled home with her Arsenal teammates after collapsing in their Continental Cup final victory over Chelsea on Sunday. Play was stopped for 7 minutes when the Norwegian went down off the ball in the 95th minute of the showdown. Arsenal later confirmed Maanum was stable after she received medical treatment prior to being taken off on a stretcher. Frida is conscious, talking, and in a stable condition, they said in a statement. She will continue to be monitored closely by our medical team. We're all with you, Frida.
So that looks like good news. The fact that she did not go to the hospital after what looked, sure, it still is very serious, but the fact that she didn't go to the hospital is a good sign. And I did see this tweet as well. It says, shocking scenes as Arsenal's Frida Maanum becomes the 4th footballer to collapse live on TV in less than a month.
Oh dear. Is this an epidemic?
Yeah.
That's not good. That's scary.
Yeah, it's just soccer players, the amount of what they do to their bodies is so extreme.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. And, Sara and I, we've been watching college basketball. It's March Madness, but we kind of joke the basketball players go down, they hop right back up. You know what I mean? They're ready to go, Soccer, although it really isn't a contact sport, it's a little bit of a contact sport, but the amount of energy they have to produce for so long is extreme.
And the field is huge.
Yeah.
Long.
Yeah.
It's very big.
Very big. So happy to hear that she is okay. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about is this is going to be super quick because I did want to mention this. In our last video, we talked about, and I hope people get to this part of the video. I know a lot of times people just look at the timestamp. So if someone had it, but I did want to talk about it right now because I don't want to forget. Last video, we talked about Korbin Albert reposting, liking certain things on TikTok and Instagram, what we thought about the situation. There was one thing I didn't acknowledge, and I will say that. Somebody brought this up in the comment section. I'm going to read this comment we're going to talk about for a second.
The context of the Rapinoe injury was Rapinoe's statement that the fact that she got injured in her last game proved God doesn't exist. I assume Rapinoe meant to be funny, but the comment could be viewed as disrespectful to religious people. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't mention that. And I wish we would have, because that is a good point. That meme was produced because of the comments Megan made after her injury, saying that it's proof that God doesn't exist because she got injured on her last game. And so she had made that comment. Then people were offended by that comment. And so someone made the meme about God and Megan getting injured, that miracles happen. Okay. And the point was to make fun of what Megan said. And I did want to bring that up because Korbin did like it. Someone could say, well, Megan started it by saying God doesn't exist, if that makes any sense. But the reason why I definitely think it's worse, obviously, because this meme is targeting somebody. You never want to be, if you're the person who is targeting someone, if you say it about yourself and about a God who is everyone's God, that's one thing, but to target it towards someone else, I think that's where it kind of crosses the line.
Well, you could say Pinoe targeted God.
And that's kind of the argument. Yeah, that's the argument.
No, I'm kind of kidding. But
I think just the decision making of liking that it was targeted at Pinoe, Megan Rapinoe, then keeping the like, and then I still feel the same way about it. Maybe 1 or 2% less evil. I don't know how to say it, 2%. But I did want to point that out because Megan did have those comments. The more I think about it, hopefully she's 20 years old. She did something really, really dumb and silly, and hopefully when you're 20 years old, you can see what you did wrong and then kind of learn from that and just become a better person because of it.
I hope she went to confession after, because it was Easter. Happy Easter, by the way, if you celebrate.
So, I mean, maybe this is the best thing that happened to her, that she was called out, is going to change her ways. Now, that doesn't mean she has to believe what other people believe, but knowing her words are very hurtful, hurting people who've already been hurt a lot, Yeah. Like I said in the last video, she makes a change. I'm a forgiving person. She's 20, at the end of the day, she is 20 years old. We're 20. I didn't want to mention that Megan was mocking God, Christianity, however you want to say it. So Korbin Albert was just liking something that said, hey, if they're going to mock the God I believe in, I'm going to target it at her. I still don't think it's right, but it is kind of one side of the story that we did not include.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions, comments down below. What did you think? What did you think about the Arsenal game? Are you a Chelsea fan who thinks Emma's substitutes kind of let the team down? Lauren James could have finished the game in the 85th minute. I was so close. And what do you think about the swerve? Oh, that's swerve part 2.
A lot of swerving in soccer.
Emma was not having it.
Shoving match.
Yeah.
No.
Almost. My favorite part kind of was Jonas's reaction. I was like, whatever, lady. That was kind of my favorite part. That was so funny. And then also, after Megan Rapinoe said it, kind of disparaging things in a way toward God, you think that was not as bad as we kind of laid it out last week, Korbin's because the more context, it does make a little more sense.
Yes. Still very naughty, though.
Very naughty. Questions, comments down below. We'll talk to everyone later. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.